James Miller had always lived in a busy city where every day looked the same. He would wake up early, dress quickly, drink his black coffee, and rush through the noisy streets to his office. For years, he followed this routine without thinking much about it. But over time, a quiet feeling began to grow inside him. A feeling that told him he didn't belong there anymore. He wanted a slower life. He wanted to wake up to the sound of birds, not car horns. He wanted to walk on green grass, not cracked concrete. And most of all, he wanted a place that felt like home. So one Friday evening, while walking back from work, something unexpected caught his eye. On a wooden board near a bus stop, there was a handwritten note pinned under a thumbtack. The paper looked old and a little wrinkled, but the message was clear. Ranch for sale. Big land, house included. Quiet place. Price low. If interested, follow directions below. Below the words, there was a simple map drawn in black ink. It pointed toward a rural area about 4 hours from the city. James stared at the note for a long time. He didn't even know why he had stopped. Maybe it was because he was tired of his own life. Maybe it was because this small piece of paper felt like a message meant only for him. He carefully removed the note from the board, folded it, and slipped it into his jacket pocket. All night, he couldn't stop thinking about it. What if this was the new beginning he had been waiting for? A quiet place. A house, a ranch? It sounded like something from a different world, a world he wanted to be part of. The next morning, he packed a small bag, filled the gas tank of his old blue truck, and started the long drive toward the location on the map. The sun had just risen, and the golden light made the city look almost kind. But as soon as he left the tall buildings behind, the view changed completely. The road turned narrow and curved between open fields. The air felt cleaner, lighter. Trees stood tall on both sides of the road, their leaves dancing in the breeze. Birds flew over the truck, and sometimes James even saw small deer crossing the road far ahead. He smiled to himself, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time: calmness. After 2 hours of driving, he passed the last gas station. From there, the road turned into a dusty path. He rolled down the window, letting the wind touch his face. It smelled like wildflowers, dry grass, and fresh air, the kind of smell that reminded him of summers from his childhood. He checked the note again, making sure he was still on the right track. The directions were simple, almost too simple. Drive past the big oak tree. Follow the creek. When you see a red barn, you're there. James began to wonder who had written this note. There was no name, no phone number, not even a price written properly. Just low, still, something inside him pushed him forward. It felt right. Finally, after what felt like forever, he spotted it. A tall oak tree standing proudly at the side of the path. Its branches stretched wide like arms ready to hug the sky. Not far from there, a narrow creek flowed beside the road, its water sparkling under the sun. James followed it carefully, driving slowly as the road became bumpier. Then, just around the corner, he saw it. A red barn with white doors, its paint a little faded but still strong. Behind it, an old farmhouse stood on a small hill, with its wooden porch facing the wide open fields. It was quiet, so quiet that James could hear the wind brushing against the long grass. He stopped the truck, turned off the engine, and stepped out. His boots touched the dusty ground with a soft thump. He took a deep breath. This was it. The ranch from the note. James expected to see someone waiting for him. Maybe the owner with a kind smile, ready to show him around. Or a neighbor. Or even a dog barking at the sound of his arrival. But there was nothing. The only movement came from the tall grass waving gently in the wind. He walked a little closer to the house, his shoes crunching on the gravel. The front door was slightly open, as if someone had just stepped outside. A wooden chair rocked slowly on the porch, creaking softly. For a moment, James thought it was the wind. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement. On the porch stood 3 young native girls. They looked like they had been there the whole time, silently watching him arrive. The eldest seemed to be around 16 or 17. Her long black hair was tied in a braid that reached almost to her waist. She wore a simple white dress that moved lightly in the breeze. Her deep brown eyes were calm but watchful, like she was trying to understand who James was before saying anything. Beside her stood 2 younger girls, maybe around 10 and 12. One was holding a small basket with wildflowers. The other had bare feet, her toes curling slightly against the warm wood of the porch. For a long second, no one said anything. The silence wrapped around them like a thick blanket. James wasn't sure what to do. This was not what he expected. He had come to see a ranch, maybe meet a seller, talk about price. But instead he found three quiet faces looking at him with curiosity. Hello, James finally said, raising his hand a little, not sure if he should wave or not. The eldest girl tilted her head slightly as if studying him. She didn't look scared, just careful. James took a step closer but stopped at the gate. He didn't want to startle them. I'm here about the ranch, he said slowly, trying to make his voice sound gentle. I saw a note. It said this place was for sale. The younger girls looked at each other. The one with the flowers whispered something to her sister. The eldest finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. We live here, she said simply. James felt a wave of confusion. You live here? He repeated, more to himself than to her. She nodded. Our grandfather built this house. This is our home. James looked around. The barn, the house, the wide open fields. Everything felt peaceful and strong, like it belonged to someone who had cared for it for a long time. It didn't feel abandoned. It didn't feel like a property waiting to be sold. He frowned slightly, pulling the folded note from his pocket. But someone put this up in the city. It said the ranch was for sale. It had directions. I followed them here. The eldest girl's face tightened just a little. We didn't put it there, she said. Nobody told us about any sale. James felt the air shift around him. The quiet calmness of the ranch now carried something else too, a thin layer of mystery. Who had written the note? Why would someone give directions to a house that was clearly already lived in? The younger girls moved a little closer to their sister, their eyes still fixed on James. He noticed their expressions, not fear exactly, but uncertainty. He forced a small smile. I'm sorry, he said kindly. I didn't mean to scare you. I just thought... Well, I thought this place was empty. It's not, the eldest replied, her voice clear and certain. James nodded slowly. He looked at the porch, at the rocking chair, at the little basket of wildflowers. Everything here had life. The sun had climbed higher now, painting the farmhouse in warm light. The creek nearby made a soft bubbling sound, and a bird flew past, landing on the barn roof. It was beautiful, but behind that beauty, James could feel a story he didn't understand yet. Is your grandfather here? He asked gently. Maybe I could talk to him? The eldest lowered her eyes for a moment before answering. He passed away last winter. Her voice was calm, but James could hear the softness in it, the kind that comes from remembering someone loved. James felt a small pinch in his chest. I'm sorry, he said quietly. She nodded once, then looked back up at him with the same careful gaze. The silence returned, but it felt different now, heavier, but not unfriendly. James glanced at the house again. It was clear this place wasn't just land to these girls. It was their home, their memory, their world, and he was a stranger standing at their gate with a note that didn't belong to them. Still, something made him stay. Maybe it was the way the eldest girl held herself, calm but strong. Maybe it was the simple beauty of the place. Or maybe it was the feeling deep in his chest, the one that told him this wasn't a random accident. As the breeze moved gently through the tall grass, James knew one thing for sure. His journey was not going to be as simple as buying a ranch. Something bigger was waiting for him here. Something real. He leaned against the gate, not ready to leave. Maybe, he said softly, almost to himself, I'm supposed to be here after all. The eldest girl didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. She just stood there, steady and silent, as if waiting to see what would happen next. James stood quietly at the gate for a moment, still trying to understand everything. The eldest girl remained on the porch with her sisters, looking at him with the same careful eyes. The silence was not heavy, but it was strong. The kind of silence that tells you something important is hidden behind it. He knew he couldn't just get back in his truck and drive away. Something inside him told him that this story wasn't finished. So he gently pushed the gate open and walked a few steps closer. He made sure to keep his hands by his side, moving slowly, so they wouldn't feel worried. I think someone made a mistake, he said softly. I got this note in the city. It said this place was for sale. I drove here because I thought it was real. I didn't know anyone lived here. The eldest girl took a breath before answering. We didn't put any note, she said in a calm voice. This ranch is our home. It has always been our home. Her words were simple, but they carried a quiet strength. James could feel that this land meant everything to them. He carefully showed her the note. She stepped down one step from the porch and reached out for it. The younger girls followed behind her, their small steps making the wooden floor creak. She opened the folded paper and James could see her eyebrows pull together as she read it. "This isn't from us," she said finally. "Someone else must have done this, but why?" James asked quietly. She shook her head. "I don't know." James looked around the ranch again. The red barn, the green field, the house with its rocking chair. And something didn't sit right. If this land truly belonged to their family, why would someone in the city put up a fake note to sell it? The sun was now warm on his shoulders, and the breeze moved through the tall grass like a gentle whisper. James didn't want to leave them with unanswered questions. "My name is James," he said, trying to ease the tension. "I didn't come here to cause any trouble. I really thought it was for sale, but now, maybe I can help you find out who did this." The eldest girl didn't speak right away, but the younger one, the one holding the basket of wildflowers, smiled a little. "I'm Lily," she said softly. The eldest looked at her sister and then back at James. "I'm Anna," she said finally. "And this is Sarah," James nodded. "It's nice to meet you," he said with a kind smile. There was a pause. Anna lowered her eyes to the note again, then folded it carefully. "Would you like some water?" she asked after a moment. James blinked in surprise. He hadn't expected her to invite him in, even a little. But the offer told him that she was beginning to trust him, even if just a small bit. "Yes, thank you," he said politely. He followed them toward the porch, his boots brushing softly against the wooden steps. Inside, the house smelled of warm bread and dry wood. The kitchen was small but bright, with sunlight coming in through the open window. Anna handed him a glass of cool water. Lily and Sarah sat down on a small bench by the wall, their legs swinging gently. James sipped the water slowly, grateful for the kindness. "So," he said carefully, "you've lived here your whole life?" Anna nodded. "Our grandfather built this place many years ago. He loved this land more than anything. We grew up here. After he passed away, we stayed." James looked at the walls. There were family pictures hanging, black and white photos of an older man with kind eyes standing in front of the barn, holding a small child on his shoulder. He could see laughter in those faces, quiet and pure. "This is a beautiful place," James said sincerely. "I can see why he loved it." Lily's eyes brightened a little. "He used to tell us stories every night," she said. "About the creek, about the stars, about how the land listens to your heart if you listen to it first." James smiled. "That sounds like something special." Anna gave a small nod. "It is." But even as they spoke, James could see the worry in her eyes. Someone out there had tried to sell their home. That meant someone was trying to take it away. He placed the empty glass on the table. "If you want," he said carefully, "I can try to help. I can take this note back to the city, ask around, and see if I can find out who put it there." Anna looked at him for a long moment. Trust wasn't something she gave easily, and he could see that. But something in James's eyes must have told her he was sincere. She gave a small nod. "That would help," she said softly. Over the next few days, James didn't return to the city right away. Something about this place made him want to stay longer. Each morning, he helped fix small things around the ranch, tightening the loose gate, clearing the dry leaves from the creek, brushing the dust off the barn doors. Lily and Sarah followed him around like shadows, asking him questions about city life. They laughed easily, and their joy made the air feel warm. Anna, on the other hand, watched quietly at first. But slowly she began to talk more too, about the land, about her grandfather's stories, about how she wanted to keep this ranch safe. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and the sky turned gold and pink, James sat on the porch with them. The rocking chair creaked softly. Fireflies began to appear in the fields. "You know," James said quietly, "I thought I was just coming to buy a piece of land, but I think I came here for something else." Anna tilted her head.
"Like what?"
He smiled faintly. "Like finding something I didn't even know I was looking for." Anna didn't reply, but a small, almost hidden smile appeared at the corner of her lips. The next morning, James drove back to the city with the folded note in his jacket pocket. He visited the bus stop where he had first found it. The board still had other notes pinned to it. People selling old cars, looking for workers, renting small rooms. But the note about the ranch was gone. He talked to the small shop owner nearby. The man said he'd seen a stranger put the note up a few weeks earlier, but he couldn't remember what they looked like clearly. James didn't give up. He went to a few more places nearby, asking carefully. At last, he found an old woman who remembered. "A man with a gray hat," she said. "He didn't look like someone from around here." He asked if he could pin a paper. Then he left quickly. James thanked her and returned to the ranch with this information. Anna listened carefully as he spoke. Her face stayed calm, but he could see her hands tightening slightly on the arm of the chair. "They're trying to trick someone," she said quietly. "Or maybe trick us." "But they didn't," James said. "I found the note. And I found you." For the first time, Anna looked at him with a clear, trusting gaze. "Yes," she said softly. Over the next week, James helped Anna speak with a local lawyer in town. They explained the situation and made sure the land papers were legally protected under their family's name. It wasn't easy, but Anna's determination impressed everyone. James didn't have to stay, but he chose to. Every day on the ranch felt more meaningful than all his years in the city. He fixed fences, carried water, painted the barn with Sarah and Lily, and shared quiet talks with Anna in the evenings. One night, as the stars filled the sky and the creek whispered softly in the dark, James stood outside and breathed in the cool air. The world felt still. He realized something deep inside him. He had come here as a stranger, but this place no longer felt like just a ranch. It felt like home. Anna came to stand beside him, her braid moving slightly in the breeze. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" James asked gently. "For helping us," she said. "For believing us. Most people wouldn't have cared." "But you did." James looked at the barn, the house, the glowing fireflies. "I think this place helped me too," he said with a soft laugh. The creek made its soft, steady sound. The stars shone brighter than any city light. And in that quiet moment, James knew his life had changed. He had come to buy a ranch. Instead, he had found a family, a purpose, and a place where his heart could rest. And the note that once felt like a random sign had led him exactly where he was meant to be.